Would you mind
Do I have to sign? Are we signing this?
No, it's for the
You
guests.
really are a jack of all trades.
I think the two people just
One
have
for
to
you
sign.
too?
Sure.
Thank you.
Short.
That's good.
Can I have some while you're at it?
Yeah, sure. Somebody else?
You're a good sport.
Only that one, really, no. A lot of bathroom runs here.
Is this even a question? Hard to say anything.
So this is the main one, and then this is a supplement, is that what that is?
It's federal. Federal statement. Federal is just the one.
Gotcha. Oh, I see, okay.
Yes, I told them we could start. Yeah, we're live. Go.
Tape's on. Good afternoon. My name is Douglas Kellner. Call the meeting to order and ask fellow commissioners to introduce themselves.
Jim Walsh. Greg Peterson.
Andy Spano.
And would the staff introduce themselves, please? Todd?
Todd Valentine.
Kim Galvin.
John Conklin.
Elizabeth Mallory.
Lisa Sugarman.
Tom Connolly.
Joe Burns.
Anna Savitzer.
Kathleen O'Keefe?
And we welcome Risa Sugarman, who's here for her first meeting as Director of Enforcement. We'd ask our guests to identify themselves, please.
Brad Williams with the New York State Employment Council.
Stephen Charles, I'm with the same organization.
Brian Quare, County Board of Elections. Frank Quare.
Bill McMillan, the Real Libertarian Party.
Amy Allen, League of Women Voters of New York State.
Sheikh Oman.
I'm sorry?
Sheikh Oman from IT.
Okay.
Jimmy Vilkine from Capital New York.
Casey Seiler from the Times Union. Did Jimmy and I have to fight for this seat?
And Tom, would you get them another chair, please?
There's one over there. All over there.
All right. We welcome our guests. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of August 1st. Is there a motion?
Second.
Those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. We'll now have our unit reports. We'll start with our co-executive directors, Bob Brehm and Todd Valentine.
Well, it's been a lot of activity since our last meeting in August. As you've identified, the new enforcement council has started, so that was, change generally in the building to accommodate the space. We've been working with RISA and OGS and others to make the space, move some things around, get the equipment hooked up. So I think it's not all done, but I think it's done in a way that people are able to function as we continue to do that work. There have been a number of staff changes or additions since then also. So our admin people have helped to bring the paperwork for RISA staff, and there are a number of new people that we've also brought in for the compliance unit. We've had 3 approvals for 3 new staff members there. 2 will start on September 11th as compliance review auditors, Lori Barone and Rebecca Jones, and then 1 more will start on September 25th, Jamie Salm, and I know Todd has a 4th person that's in the works for approvals, so we can work to bring that unit up to full staff, or that subunit up to full staff. I think one of the other kind of personnel issue generally is we have the vacancy still in CIO, so we've been meeting weekly. Dave Loomis and Adam Gignac from our cluster head for the State Information Technology Unit, that meet with Todd and I weekly to kind of review where we are with the technology projects. There's probably a little bit of project creep because we don't have our own CIO, but we're working to interview the people. We're setting up a second interview with at least one of the applicants. Dave has been sitting in on those interviews, which I think is very helpful to get his perspective. So we're making progress on that front. I think one of the other long-term projects that we have been working on is the procurement under the Nysboe refresh program of the vendor to do the work. We just, I think that's a project that we had started the contract last June, and we just got word yesterday morning that it was completed. So, it's taken a long time, but we're at least happy that it's finally done. So from staff, we're heading in the right direction. From the contracting, it took us a long time. It put us a little bit behind, I think, but we're still making progress in that regard. On that, there have been an awful lot of issues related to petitions, which I think you'll hear from everybody from the units. Just because on this many specs, there's a lot of people chipping in to help as best they can. We've been working late hours in order to try and keep current with making sure that we're ready for your September 26th meeting for the state level specs that we have. I think we continue to monitor it, every day, but I think we're not panicking yet. I think we have a plan in place with the help of the staff working extended hours that we should be well prepared to get you a report by then without any risk that we'll miss the deadline.
Anything else, Todd?
And we do have a primary election on Tuesday. We want to forget that, and you can hear more details on. We're preparing for the election night reporting system to be up and running for that primary, as well as looking forward to the general elections, and you can hear more details on the translations for the ballot questions still in progress.
All right. Next is new titles. Council and Compliance Unit, Kim Galvin and Kathleen O'Keefe.
Go ahead. Okay, thanks, Kim. I'm going to leave the petition summary to Kim. She's been working very diligently with that. The call center is getting a large volume of phone calls, and we are continuing to process registrations, resignations, terminations, and they've also given us significant assistance on responses to subpoena production. We have started interviews for a vacancy in that unit, and it's crucial we fill that. We're hoping to do that quickly. One of our council secretaries has retired, and we are looking to fill that position in addition to the compliance positions that Bob has already discussed. The last board meeting, the board certified one candidate for the public financing program. We have not received any additional candidates that opted to participate, so we have that one candidate. As of today, the participating candidate has not yet met all the eligibility requirements to receive matching funds. We've been working closely with this person. We've designated point people from the staff to work with him. My understanding is that the program that is necessary to run this program itself, the computer program, is going to be up and running. I'm hoping that Elizabeth may address that a little bit more. I guess there's a difference between pre-production and post-production that I'm not entirely clear what that means, but I understand once it's in production, he can start submitting his matchable contributions. We have emailed him, talked to him on the phone, dealing with this treasurer. We're really trying to offer as much support as we possibly can because of the newness of the whole program. Compliance reviews are ongoing. We had the 32 pre-primary filings as well as the 11-day pre-primary reviews. They've been conducted, we're happy to say, and amendments are currently coming in to correct any deficiencies that we have identified, and we're hoping that those will all be done in a timely manner. To date, the common reporting issues regarding deficiencies, just so people are aware, a link to missing data, addresses, names, check numbers, and how to properly report reimbursements. Oftentimes, people pay, say, a staff or a campaign worker a large sum of money for reimbursements, but they haven't broken it down what exactly are those reimbursements for, and they need to do that. We have started the initial steps to redesign the program here at the board, and other people are much more knowledgeable about that, but the council's unit is involved in that discussion. Just two quick items I want to bring up besides the petition litigation that happens in the state court. We have been served with papers challenging the proposed redistricting amendment. Those papers are due 5 days before the 12th. They'll be going out today to the court and the litigants on the other side. The return date, as I said, is the 12th. We expect to be in court and that the court will deal with this matter in an expedited way, the way that the election law requires. So that is Albany Supreme Court on the 12th with respect to that issue. We also have been served with papers in a federal matter that has originally started in the state courts. It has to do with the statewide slate and a petition that was invalidated. That matter actually was addressed in Albany Supreme Court, and the Appellate Division Court of Appeals denied leave to appeal, and they are now in federal court, and our papers for that are due tomorrow at 1. That's basically it.
Yes, just to add on that, we have been very busy. It's difficult with this new, all the new processes starting for everybody to get a handle on the ebb and flow of things, and we're finding that the follow-up calls on the compliance reviews take a lot of time. And so you have the July periodics that went out at the end, crossing with the 32-day pre-primary, crossing with the 11-day pre-primary. So that staff is, there's not that many of them as we're adding to them, and they've been very busy with that, which also detracts from the amount of pool that we have to do the specs. Now we have thousands and thousands of pages of specs filed against these independent petitions, and again, only a limited amount of staff to actually work them. In addition, we have 12 new lawsuits filed 2 days ago on the independent nominating petitions that are all returnable starting tomorrow to the 11th, and we won't have any of the work product done in time or the hearings held, so I'm trying to notify the courts as soon as possible that, I'm still trying to track down index numbers and do what I have to do to let the courts know that we'll forward them all of the information as soon as it is done. And as they said, staff's working late, working on the weekends. We're doing everything we can to move the process along. So we haven't really had time to sit down and iron out some new processes that we have to look forward to with the new enforcement unit. So that's basically all. We've been very busy.
Roughly, what are the percentages of campaign finance disclosure filings that need follow-up after the compliance reviews?
What I've been told is about 1/3 are in compliance
Right.
when they come in.
So 66%?
Now, all of those are not, quote, deficiencies. Some of those are training
Right.
type issues, but they all require responses. So it's, whether it's training or deficiencies, you really are engaging with the
Right.
committee.
And because it was new, we erred on the side of no leeway. Because the treasurers, and you'll find as they file additional reports, they're getting much better at it. And they're correcting their mistakes as they go. But one missing zip code and they got a deficiency letter. They're not very happy about it, but we need them to understand the process moving forward and how it's going to work. We didn't feel comfortable, drawing an arbitrary line and making a decision. So we wanted everyone that did something wrong to understand this was a new process, this was what was going to happen, and so, but they are getting better.
So that started with the July 15th filing?
It did.
Right.
And then, and for that, how many are filed? A couple thousand in July?
I think it's at least,
How about the
And then
Good for you, Bob.
sent it to me this morning.
What do we have?
That's how
here?
many you had.
Bill might know off
Yeah,
the copy.
that's how many you
I mean,
have.
since July, we've had over 6,000 reports filed. About 6,400 reports have been filed for, either the July periodic, an amendment, 32-day or the 11-day. But since then, through this morning, that's how many have been filed.
And close to a third of those have been completed at this point. So, I mean, as Kim pointed out, they're overlapping. Then the amendments come in,
Then
and
you have
you're
to-
dealing with the amendments because we give them 30 days. I mean,
That's right.
we're obligated to deal with these amendments in a timely manner. So there's a constant attention to what amendments are coming in and then going back to what the new filings require.
Right, the amendments have to almost be entirely re-reviewed because you'll find that, the treasurers that are not used to this sort of activity, they'll fix all their reimbursement issues but forgot to fix their addresses or
Or
forgot to
change
fix-
something that was good already.
Yeah, or change something that was good because they made a mistake. And, some people, their treasurers resigned right in the middle of it. So now we have a few treasurers that were like, dude, you got to go back and fix, this. And they didn't do it originally. So that's taking a great deal of patience and training on the part of the very few, what is there, six people doing all this work, 7 people maybe. So it's busy.
It's a challenge.
They're doing a great job.
How do you send that back? In other words, do you send a list to a treasurer, for instance?
Yeah.
You have 1, 2, 3, has to be corrected.
It's a compliance checklist. It's the items that are out of sync, and then there's a note section. And then we give them the individual person assigned to that actually did the review. So it's not going through the phone banks. It's coming directly to the person that did the audit, that did the review, because they're most familiar with the deficiencies. And that seems to be working out well, except for now they have a friend and a number, so they call for for a whole variety of things not related to their filings, but whatever it takes, we'll continue down the path.
The staff is really great and
Yeah.
very knowledgeable and very hardworking. It's very impressive considering how new the program is.
A lot of work.
Thank you. For election operations, Anis Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Commissioners. Unfortunately, we did not have time to prepare a written monthly report for you, so I can bring you up to date. With regard to filings, the federal independent petitions that were filed, 9 were received, 10 sets of objections, 10 sets of specifications, and the attendant acceptances and other correspondence was all processed. With the independent petitions for statewide and Senate and Assembly, 46 petitions were received. I don't have a count on the candidates that were filed within all of those petitions. There were 56 acceptances, 70 sets of objections, 44 sets of specifications. So that just quantifies everything you just heard from the council's office. We have everybody working on specs that we can. That's always a daunting process because there isn't a huge consistency between the abbreviations that one objector uses on one petition to another petition from another part of the state. So ideally, if we had a list and we made everybody use it, that would be helpful, but we have not been successful in that approach. So there is a learning curve every time you pick up a set of specs and you have to start over again. But again, we keep saying it all the time. We have so few people working on this and so many of our mission critical items all happening at the same time that it really want to give all of the staff a round of applause if we could, because they are coming in early, 7:30, staying until 6:30, 7 o'clock at night working on all of these, and we're hoping we're not frying them so that when they come in the morning, they're fresh to start over again. We learned those lessons years ago. We also have received, in the real world of election operations, ES&S on their central count system had submitted a change for their uninterrupted power source on their central count. We had It's a de minimis process. There is no testing involved. We simply need to advise the board that our testing lab has determined that it is de minimis and there isn't any issue with it. So we'll be notifying the county boards of that acceptance of their report and that alternate source for the UPS. UPS. Sorry.
The overnight.
Overnight mail for specs. That's what I have on my mind. We understand New York City might be buying this central account system, so we particularly want to get this to them so that when they get their new systems, there isn't the end-of-life item in it. It comes to them with the newly approved one. And then we'll add that to their to that correspondence. We are participating with IT in the candidate management system upgrades. I'm not quite sure what IT is calling them, but they've been very patient with us because we haven't had time to sit down and meet with them one-on-one, but our staff has been working with their staff, and hopefully we'll get together with Hope and others to have a meeting with Joe and I to make sure that that's on track and that we get all the changes that we're looking for. With regard to Clear Ballot and their submission as a central count voting system, we're awaiting source code. They submitted it to their own lab, and we're waiting for that final report to be sent to our lab, and at that point they will send us a software package and we'll be able to begin testing on that product. So as soon as we do that, receive that, we'll let you know in case any of you are interested and want to be here for that, because it's a really different approach to counting ballots. Our team has been supporting county boards with building ballots for the primary and getting ready for the election on Tuesday with other issues relating to poll watchers and poll sites and consolidation and any number of other issues. Nothing particularly outstanding on the radar. I think everybody just is expecting a good turnout, and it's business as usual beyond that. And we'll certainly enhance this at our monthly report that we'll give you for the next board meeting. Joe, did you have anything to add?
Has anything started with respect to the report that the Board of Elections is required to prepare on the use of lever voting machines by villages and special districts?
We've had some preliminary conversation. I am working on a draft outline right now of an approach that I'll share with everyone. I've been doing it at home at night because there isn't much time during the day to have a single train of thought that's uninterrupted. But we're hoping to get feedback from county boards, particularly those that have expressed reluctance at this because of the impact on their operations, as well as the county boards that have been very successful in making equipment and the process available to other jurisdictions such as schools, villages, fire districts, water districts, library districts, et cetera. So there are a couple of dynamics there, and we're going to put together a list of county boards that Bob and Todd can review to see if we can make them an ad hoc committee. We also need to reach out to NYSAC, NYCOM, the groups that are the stakeholders for all of those special districts, and create a way to have a conversation with them. We think the report needs to be objective. It needs to be all-encompassing, but clearly there is a spirit and a letter of HAVA and state legislation that has not been met, and it's been 10 years. Everyone has certainly had ample time to evaluate this issue.
That's your objective view.
Yes, thank you. I think that's objective. The law is the law. If you want to ask me what I think, I'll share it with you off the record. But we'll put an outline together. We'll get it to the directors and to the four of you, and if that approach is agreeable, then we'll move forward. That's also going to be a timeliness issue because I believe that report's due the end of January, and we'll be busy certifying an election at least through the middle of December. So it's on a parallel track.
February might be more, right?
Yeah, February would be a little tough.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Next is public information. John Conklin.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, as is often the case, whatever the other units are talking about that they're doing, we're getting questions about. So we're very busy with public and media inquiries about the primary, the independent nominating petitions for state and federal offices, the 32-day and 11-day pre-primary financial disclosure reports, and the hearing processes for all the petitions. We had 59 FOIL requests in August. We are having regular meetings with IT and election ops to coordinate the posting of the election night results on our website for the primary. The 2013 annual report is done and has been posted to the website. We're working on an estimate for the newspaper publishing requirements for the statewide ballot proposals. Everybody in our entire unit has been assisting in the petition review and challenge process. Bob already mentioned the meetings to begin the Nysboe voter refresh and the CIO interview process. We've been part of that as well. Tom's been working on the translations for the ballot props as well. We posted the state certification for the ballot for the September 9th primary. We posted the text for the 3 statewide ballot proposals. We posted a list of the independent nominating petitions for federal office and for state office. We did a press release for the voter registration deadline for the primary, and the annual report's been posted to the website. So do you have anything to add, Tom?
Yeah, just want to give a little bit more information on a couple of things with regard to the translations. I just wanted to thank the New York City Board and also one of the attorneys from Doug's office for their assistance in reviewing some of the translations that we had gotten from our vendor. We worked with them to kind of provide some feedback to our vendor as far as what sounds a little bit more, what sounds better from a legal perspective, but also what's more commonly used down in the city. We did receive our final translations yesterday, and they have been provided to New York City. I'll be providing the Spanish to the other counties that need to use the Spanish language for the ballot proposals. The vendor will also be starting the process of recording the audio in the different languages for use with the ballot marking devices. Beyond that, the next most important thing is the MOVE Act, since we do have a federal election in November. There are a number of deadlines that need to be met. The first one coming next week, the day after the primary, which is just the initial survey from all the counties who are hopefully listening to know that they have to kind of certify to us that they are ready to meet the 45-day deadline that's required under federal law. The next date after that would be the following week, which is the 17th, when they're supposed to give us all of their candidates for a federal ballot. That's important because we provide that information to the Federal Voting Assistance Program. We also utilize it in some of our online tools to make sure that anyone who wants to use the federal write-in absentee ballot can see the list of candidates that they're entitled to vote for. And of course, the most important deadline that would be coming up would be September 20th, which is the deadline to mail federal ballots to all military and special federal voters. Transmit, sorry, yes, which could be by mail, fax, or email. And there are people who get theirs by fax. The other important thing that we had to deal with 2 years ago is that being that due to the time frame of certifying the state primary and the certification of the federal candidates, the list of state and local candidates will not be ready in time for the 45-day deadline to transmit the ballots. So like 2 years ago, we will have, again, 2 ballots that will be going to military voters. The special federal voters are only entitled to vote in federal offices, so they'll get that ballot that goes out 45 days before. The military voters will get the initial ballot, which will only have federal offices on it, and then they'll get a subsequent ballot for the state and local offices on the 32-day deadline under state law, which is October 3rd. As we've reminded counties 2 years ago, and we'll be reminding them again, I'll be sending out a whole bunch of information. It's very important that they keep the ballots separate. We have to track the statistics on all these ballots for the Department of Justice. So it's important that we have a good, clear statistics on the numbers that are going out and that are coming back in for federal office. So beyond that, I think the only other thing that we didn't mention is with regard to the public financing program, like was said, the comptroller candidate has not yet certified to us that he's qualified or not met the qualifications, but should that occur, then I believe John and I have already started discussions about one of the other triggers that pop in, which would be the debate that the Board of Elections is required under the law to facilitate. So we've kind of started discussions on what would need to go into that as far as to make that happen. but other than that, I think I'm good.
Kim?
I just don't know if it's worth mentioning that just, if you said they started to record for the BMDs and stuff, I don't know if the lawsuit on the redistricting language, they should do it last, or I'm sure there's not going to be a change to it, but until that court case is decided, there could be a change to the language that they need to.
I mean, we've had the process where I think if we have to re-record or retranslate, we could. I mean, right now, I think that we're just better off having everything ready to go, should it, as soon as possible, so.
And just a note on that, I did include information about that in the papers
Yeah.
to make sure the court is aware that we have to do these translations as well as the publication, so that when we get there on the 12th, I can potentially let the court know where we are on that at that point.
When will the translations of the ballot proposals be posted on the website?
We could probably facilitate that today, because we received them yesterday afternoon, so.
Okay. Well, I think they should go up as soon as possible, especially if somebody finds some glaring error, then they can let us know.
Can we send them to the county boards before we post them so that we don't?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, let's do it. If you're ready,
Yeah.
let's do it now then, so that we can get them up. All right, thank you. So next is information technology. Elizabeth Mowry.
Thank you, Commissioner. As Bob mentioned, we are very happy that the contract was approved and that the Nysboe refresh project can resume. At the end of the last contract, we had finished the proof of concept, which proved the Nysboe application can run on a virtual environment with the upgraded hardware and software. Our next step is to finalize the hardware specifications and then start working with ITS to acquire the necessary hardware and software for the new refreshed environments. The candidate management and campaign finance redesign project, we're keeping that moving forward. We do have a project manager on site, but we are in the process of hiring a technical lead, a senior programmer, and also an ITS 3. In the interim, we are currently working on requirements gathering and analysis of the current environment. We're finalizing the scope document, and as Anna mentioned, we're setting up meetings with our user groups. We are in pretty good shape for the September primary. All the counties have sent their 0 files for the election night reporting. And now our staff can complete the election setup process to capture that information on election night. We are also working with the counties to send us any changes to their polling sites so we can update the Nysboe poll site locator for the primary. And lastly, we do have a new addition to our data communications group, and that's Mike Alois. I hope I said his name right. He started in August, very knowledgeable and a great fit for our data communications team. And that team has been especially busy this month or last month, setting up, getting ready for the new enforcement unit. They made additions to the user management system, set up new PCs, set up new network accounts and email accounts for 10 new users in the enforcement unit.
Thank you. With respect to the campaign finance computer system that you're developing, would you go into a little more detail in terms of just where we are in putting together the requirements and who are the user groups and how the drafts will be circulated?
That I can't give you much more information on because I'm not really on that team.
I think generally Raj has been the project manager. I think at our last meeting we had mentioned that we were starting with the kickoff. There couldn't be a worse time to start a project than now. For 2 reasons. The money was identified in the budget in January, but it wasn't made available for use until April to get the technical help to do the business plan. So we were looking for 4 people under that pot of money, and so far they've identified 1, the project manager. So we are starting preliminary work with him. He has been reaching out to get an idea of the project and with the preliminary meetings, just to keep it going. And right now that includes the units in the building. We did have a discussion with Risa just yesterday because she's the newest constituency group, I guess, because we'll need to incorporate her needs into the scope document. So we'll have to have that. So we've identified to Raj and to Dave Loomis and to Adam during our technical meeting that they need to find an appropriate time to sit down and find a way to incorporate that conversation. But also, since we're touching now to candidate management, et cetera, there's certain county boards that have systems in place that need to be party to it. And we set up, like Nysboe, we've had a constituency group of county boards. We'll just have to make sure that we accommodate what they're using. If it's homegrown or if it's a commercial product, we like to have as many different people at the table as possible that have a perspective. When we've done some of the campaign finance redesign, that unit, when we did the, whatever we call that last revision, had a number of treasurers that were a constituency group as a focus group. Before we took it out of production, put it online, they would do some work and give us some feedback as to whether or not they thought it was good. So we'd at least have to identify perhaps a group like that when it got timely. So there's a number of different groups that we'd have to do, but it really is dependent on getting the technical help to be able to do the analysis and then to meet with people. The problem is meeting with us is difficult now. Meeting with the counties is very difficult now, and the vendors for the county are busy supporting them for the election. So to say if we started in February it would have been better, we wouldn't be as busy, yes, but they're doing what they can.
Right.
Well, without those other 3 HFITS people, and I know we've talked to the deputy secretary, it's on our conversation with him and with the technical people. We really need that help to make sure that we don't have a bigger loss of time.
Right. Well, obviously, we all agree that this is a priority project for the agency. And so I understand all the problems in terms of getting the startup. I haven't seen any paperwork, in terms of draft reports or anything in the works in more than 6 months. So when I heard Elizabeth's report, I'm glad to see it's moving forward, but I feel like I'm not in the loop on any of this. And in terms of the user groups, I think it's very important that we include input from people who are doing the filing, and that we also contact people who are trying to get information off the system as well, because the press and the good government groups that are downloading the information off the system also have a lot of input in terms of setting up the requirements, and that I hope that the early drafts of the requirements will be widely circulated so that there can be lots of feedback and input, so that we do get the best system we can get out of this. And it wouldn't hurt also to check with some of the other states to see if there are systems that we can use as models.
I know we did a little bit of that preliminary work with Dave when he was doing the general scope, and I know that's kind of the starting point. Raj has organized from a project planning the various stages where the help will come in. So it's pretty much that preliminary scope document, and I know Liz and Bill at that early conversation with Dave Loomis had looked at a number of different vendors had reached out to us, and a couple of states. So I know there's been that level. Raj just has to, himself as the project manager, re-review that and see if there's anything more out there that we missed.
All right, thank you. Anything else? All right, and so we welcome our new Director of Enforcement, Risa Sugerman.
Commissioners, nice to be here. We began according to the statute on September 1st, and our first day in the office was September 2nd on Tuesday. I'd like to thank all the people at the board. They've been very helpful to me over the past couple of months since the end of June when I was confirmed by the Assembly and the Senate. And we've done a lot of work, and sometimes it was early in the morning or after work because I was still working at tax, so I had to finish up my work at tax. So a lot of times the calls and the emails were early in the morning before I got to work, or later in the evening after I got home from work. So I really appreciated all the work that everybody here at BOE did in helping me getting everything done. So we are here. We have computers. We're working. We do have an email for the public to get in touch with us. It's enforcement@elections.ny.gov. So if the press
that camera
wants to,
Jimmy would like a picture.
a picture. There you go. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. There you go. Can't be outdone.
In all these years, no one's ever taken pictures of us.
Well, you have to
We had to bring a sign.
You have to
We didn't bring a sign, right?
Kick me. That's what it is.
You're learning the ropes awful fast.
Yeah, what the heck? Hey, I've been in public, doing stuff for a long time. So that would be an easy way for the public to get in touch with us if they want to. And that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to be up and running. I have staff here already, more staff coming on board on Monday. I can feel my face is bright red now. I'm glad I'm not wearing that jacket. I gave up wearing red a long time ago. And 3 more positions to hire. So that's what we're doing.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, well, and I hope you'll let us know if you need anything from the commissioners.
I certainly will. People tell me I'm not shy, although I can't understand why they say that.
All right, I don't believe we have any old business on the agenda, so we'll turn to new business and the petition rulings. So who's going to organize the presentation for us?
I think before we get started, we have on page 2, Todd had recommended a amendment to the report. So if I please get it to you so you have it. There's some preliminary work that we are doing today. It's on the state filing report.
Because we have 2.
There's a federal, there's a single page related to federal independent petition filing, and then there's a 3-page related to state filing.
Okay, so it's this here.
So we're just recommending that we hold those over until the September 26th because they fit in with some of the other work we're doing that is still pending.
All right, so I should.
You can do that version and I'll.
All right, so.
The 2 between you had it or the 4 of you have it, so you know what we're recommending.
All right, so we should start with the federal independent filing petition, right? So that's the single-page report that we have, and the report is finding invalid the petitions of Anthony Tolda for member of Congress in the 3rd District and Joseph Marthone in the 5th District. All right. And then all right, and those are based on prima facie rulings. And then Grant Lally in the 3rd District for insufficient signatures, and Christopher Day in the 17th District for insufficient signatures based on staff findings on the objections that were submitted.
That did not require a hearing.
And then there were hearings for Christopher Day in the 17th District. I see. Christopher Day has 2 different petitions. One is for the Stop Common Core, where it's invalid, and then the other is for the Preserve Hudson Party, where after the hearing it was found to be valid. And then Scott Smith in the 18th District, petition is invalid for insufficient signatures.
Correct.
So we'll take a vote on approving the staff report.
So moved.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So it's unanimous that the staff report to the federal independent petitions is adopted. Then for state office, independent petitions filed, for those that we have been able to complete so far, which is not everything. This is still in the works, right? And all right. But based on prima facie review, petitions for Sloan, Stevens, Clifton, and Grimaldi statewide office, insufficient signatures. Carey, Moss, Antonici, and Cahill, insufficient signatures. And what is this? Based upon lack of lieutenant governor acceptance, petition fails to nominate a lieutenant governor candidate, thus the petition's invalid for that additional reason. And then there was an opportunity to ballot petition for 38th Senate District, invalid for insufficient signatures and filed late. Garvey for Senate in the 8th District, insufficient signatures. Bell in the 103rd Assembly District. Salka in the 121st Assembly District. Yazowitz in the 110th Assembly District. Vrooman in the 111th Assembly District. Katz in the 94th Assembly District. Green Brown in the 104th Assembly District, all insufficient signatures. Parietti in the 38th Senate District, filed late and insufficient signatures. An independent petition for Justice of the Supreme Court in the 9th Judicial District, insufficient signatures. And then 4 candidates who did not file timely acceptances, Stevens for Lieutenant Governor, Moss for Lieutenant Governor, Antonacci for Controller, Cahill for Attorney General. All on other parties. They're on the ballot in other places, right?
I hope so.
Some of them, yeah. And then,
There's 3 of them.
so those were all invalid for lack of acceptance. And in the 98th Assembly District, candidate J.B. Romaine declined and no substitution was filed. So that invalidates the petition. And then, based on objections, we're ruling invalid objections to the 2 sets of objections to the Sloan petitions. Then we're dismissing objections to,
Now those are being put over.
I'm going to Salka now. I'm
Okay.
skipping the ones that are being put over. So then Salka, 121st Assembly District, we're dismissing the objections because they were late.
So we've also prima facie said the petition was invalid, so.
So he's off anyway. All right. And then staff findings on Sloan for governor, insufficient signatures. Clifton and Grimaldi, insufficient signatures. Bell, 103rd Assembly District, insufficient signatures. Parietti, 38th Senate District, insufficient signatures. Katz, 94th Assembly, insufficient signatures. Marcelino, 5th Senate District, insufficient signatures. Green Brown, Assembly, 104th District, insufficient signatures. Vrooman, Assembly, 111th District, insufficient signatures. Romaine, Supreme Court, 9th District, insufficient signatures. Garvey, Senate, 8th District, insufficient signatures. Salka, 121st Assembly, insufficient signatures. Yazowitz, 110th Assembly, insufficient signatures. And we haven't had any of the hearings yet. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the report? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The report is adopted. We have one personnel matter. Do we need an executive session for that? So, very pleased to introduce and propose that we hire as deputy counsel Brian Quayle. Brian, say hello to everyone.
Hello. It's a privilege to be here. And, it's been a privilege to be an election commissioner for 8 years in Schenectady County, and I'm hopeful that you will approve this appointment and certainly stand ready to answer any questions that you might have.
Want to hold up something? You were unprepared.
Thank you, Brian. All right, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So, and then we don't have any compliance or enforcement cases, so I don't think there's any other business for executive session. We talked about our next meeting being September 26th, am I correct?
That's right. That's Friday. It's as late as possible so that we can get our certification done by September 29th, which is Monday. And you know, the biggest threat to the calendar is always the late filings with regard to the JD districts. It always kind of squeezes in right then. So that's our next week.
All right. We stand adjourned then. Thank you all.